Radio Philippines Network. DZRL Batak. DZKI-IRIGA. DYKB Bacolod. DYKC Cebu. DXKS Surigao. DXKO Cagayan de Oro. DXXX Zamboanga. DXKD Dipolo. DXKT Davao. DXPX General Santos. RPN Radio Philippines Network.
RPN Radio Philippines Network. Radyo Ronda. DZKI-IRIGA. Member, kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
CNN Philippines R sa RPN-DZKI-IRIGA alas 6 hasta alas 7 ng manggi, Lunes hanggang Biyernes. CNN Philippines R.
Remains manageable.
Hindi ganun talaga tumataas, ano? Meron kaming na-admit pero the most is around siguro less than 40%.
The Grano adds COVID facilities and beds are still not fully utilized.
Halos konti lang ang na-ICU dito because of the yung critical symptoms or severe symptoms, and most of these patients are those na hindi talaga nabakunahan.
While private hospitals are ready for a possible influx of COVID-19 patients, they are now facing three challenges: unsettled PhilHealth claims, lack of manpower due to the resignation of healthcare workers including nurses, and unpaid COVID-19 allowance.
We will come to a point na siguro maubusan kami ng nurses. Kung talagang wala na kaming healthcare workers to manage these patients, we will be forced to limit the admissions.
The Philippine College of Physicians also favors placing Metro Manila under Alert Level 1 status for now, but it appeals to the public to strictly follow health protocols and get vaccinated.
Nakita nyo na po ang epekto ng COVID-19 vaccination. Wala akong basihan yung sinasabi at naririnig ninyo sa iba na pwede kayong maging zombie. Nakita nyo naman, hindi naman nung nagkaroon ng zombie dito sa ating bansa.
Research group Okta also sees no immediate need to raise the alert level in the region, saying the rise in new cases will not yet strain the healthcare system.
So we're projecting perhaps a few hundred cases at the peak of the surge in Metro Manila, which would not really affect the healthcare too much.
As of June 15, the COVID-19 tracker shows hospital bed occupancy at 18%. That's 5,457 hospital beds occupied out of over 30,000. 15% or 463 ICU beds nationwide are also being utilized, while 60% of hospitals in the country are still well under the safe occupancy rate. The Health Department adds that Metro Manila is still at low-risk classification. The department adds as long as severe and critical hospital admissions remain low, a shift to a higher level is unlikely. Tristan Odalo, CNN Philippines.
An employers group is against the potential escalation of the alert level in Metro Manila, even with rising infections. The Employers Confederation of the Philippines says this will only hamper economic recovery. It notes workers will be the most affected if the government reimposes the stricter alert level 2.
Bakit tayo nag-uusap ng level 2? Dapat asikasuhin, huwag ma-overwhelm ang hospital natin dahil puno sila ng mga ibang non-COVID patient ngayon. Pag nagkaroon ng little surge, baka magkakaroon ka ng problema na naman sa hospital. Yun ang sinasabi namin, asikasuhin, huwag yung ipapasa na naman sa economy at sa mga tao na mawala ng trabaho ang problema.
The Interior Department is giving Cebu Governor Gwen Garcia until this weekend to change her ordinance on the optional mask wearing outdoors. But Secretary Eduardo Año did not say what exactly is going to happen if the provincial government stands its ground. Año maintains Cebu has overstepped its authority.
I'm consulting with my legal team and hindi pa namin i-announce ngayon. No? We'll just do what is legal and what is commensurate to that particular kind of action of the Cebu provincial government. It's beyond their powers to supersede, to to contradict a national statute.
News overseas now. China's capital, Beijing, has extended the mandatory mass testing in its most populous district. Chaoyang, home to 3.5 million people, will conduct testing each day for the next 3 days. This in response to the apparent outbreak linked to a popular bar. 63 people were found positive for COVID-19. The Chinese government admits facing challenges in reviving its economy following extensive lockdowns. Retail sales are down by 6.5% in May compared to last year, while the youth employment rate hits a record high of 18.4%. Over in the United States, the Food and Drug Administration Advisory Panel supports the COVID-19 vaccination of children as young as 6 months. All 21 advisors voted in favor of expanding the emergency permit of Pfizer and Moderna to include kids up to 5 years old. The U.S. FDA follows the decision of the panel in most cases. A study finds there could be limits to the effectiveness of Pfizer's COVID-19 pill Paxlovid. While the antiviral drug helps protect high-risk patients, the same cannot be said for those who are at low or moderate risk. The findings were based on 1,100 standard-risk adults. Pfizer says nearly half the global population is at high risk for COVID-19. To address the growing needs of the growing cycling community and help riders in emergency situations, Metro Manila authorities open a motorcycle and bicycle repair station along EDSA. Our George Quiles will tell us what a bikers group thinks about this new support hub.
Cyclist Lian Centura's tire went flat along Shaw Boulevard in Mandaluyong City. With no vulcanizing shop nearby, he planned to walk with his bike to find one. Luckily, a fellow biker passing by offered assistance.
Kapag mga ganito, boss, malayo kami sa nasa kami, wala kami makunan.
Kung alam mong may dala ka, tulungan mo yung kasama mong siklista. Para hindi naman po siya kawawa. Kasi alam ko malayo po kasi vulcanizing, dun pa po eh.
To help bikers and even riders facing similar problems, the MMDA has opened a repair station at the ground level of Quezon Avenue flyover on EDSA. More of these will be put up in strategic areas of major thoroughfares in the coming days.
Ito po ay may basic tools. Meron din po tayong pang-vulcanize kung sakali pong sila ay mapaflatan. Ito po ay libre. Maglalagay po tayo ng tao na trained para po mag-assist.
IRA crews of the group Move As One Coalition says there are other key issues that also need to be resolved. Among them are the safety of bike lanes and awareness of motorists on road sharing.
It's also about the quality of those bike lanes. Need to be permanently protected from motorists. That goes hand in hand with the lack of education of motorists in terms of how to share the road with other road users.
Cruz says he personally experienced being cut off, beeped at, and yelled at by motorists even while on the bike lane. And with more recklessness, accidents are inevitable. Based on MMDA data, of the 918 reported accidents, at least 12 people have died due to bicycle-related road crashes from January to May this year.
That's an indication of why a lot of people are getting discouraged to consider biking.
Kaya nga po kami dito sa MMDA, ang una po naming advocacy ay i-educate yung ating mga siklista, lalong-lalo na po sa proper gears. Kailangan din po mag-helmet sila. Sa gabi, kailangan meron pong mga ilaw or senyas sila sa kanilang katawan para po sila ay madaling makita.
Meanwhile, the MMDA says with the surging prices of oil, the number of vehicles plying EDSA is going down. From 417,000 vehicles on May 5, it's down to 392,000 last June 9. The MMDA says for now, there's no need to expand existing 5 to 8 p.m. number coding scheme. George Quiles, CNN Philippines.
Up next on Newsnight, police insisting there is no legal basis yet for them to take the hit-and-run driver Jose Antonio San Vicente into custody. Spokesperson Jean Fajardo tells us why. And we're getting more details on the oath-taking of Vice President-elect Sara Duterte, a peek at her inauguration gown, next only here on CNN Philippines. Welcome back to Newsnight. Police say there is no legal basis for the SUV driver in the controversial Mandaluyong hit-and-run incident last week to be taken into custody after appearing in public yesterday. PNP spokesperson Colonel Jean Fajardo explains Jose Antonio San Vicente was allowed to go home after holding a media briefing at Camp Crame, as there is no arrest warrant against him. Fajardo adds only a court can order his arrest.
Nasa poder na po ng prosecutor's office kung ano po ang magiging desisyon sa kanya. Kung magkakaroon po ng finding ng probable cause, ay magsasampa po ng information sa korte po ang ating mga prosecutors.
San Vicente is facing complaints of frustrated murder and abandonment of one's own victim for hitting and running over a security guard in Ortigas Center on June 6. A hearing is set at the Mandaluyong Prosecutor's Office on Friday. Fajardo also denies insinuations that the PNP is extending special treatment to San Vicente, saying they're following due process. She says PNP officer in charge, Lieutenant General Jose Vicente Danao, does not know San Vicente's family.
Hindi po kilala ng ating officer in charge yung pamilya po nitong ni Jose Antonio San Vicente. It so happened, based on my information, ay meron pong nilapitan itong tatay na po pwede pong makipag-usap kay OIC kung po pwede nga po silang umapir dito sa Camp Crame.
The Interior Department is looking into an alleged plot to embarrass President-elect Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos. Former Senator Juan Ponce Enrida claimed certain groups in the Philippines and the U.S. are working together to tarnish Marcos's reputation. DILG Secretary Eduardo Año sees the Communist Party of the Philippines and the New People's Army as possible suspects.
We are validating the information. The intelligence community is into it. What we can surmise, the CPP and PA and its cohorts are actually have the intent to cause embarrassment to President-elect Bongbong Marcos. No? Kasi itong mga kaliwang grupo na to, right from the start, kahit sino mo po presidente, palaging ganun yung kanilang ginagawa. We will not allow any group to what you call conduct any nefarious activities, much more to discredit the incoming administration.
Año says all government forces are on alert against any possible threat linked to the inaugurations of Marcos and Vice President-elect Sara Duterte. Outgoing Tourism Secretary Berna Romulo Puya takes her oath as the next Deputy Governor of the Bangko Sentral. BSP head Ben Diokno swore her in as the central bank's 5th Deputy Governor this afternoon. Puyat will oversee the Program Management Office for the new BSP complex in New Clark City, as well as regional operations and other programs. She will also sit as Vice Chairman of the Board of Directors at the Philippine International Convention Center and as an alternate of the BSP Governor to select governing boards. Vice President-elect Sara Duterte's attire for her upcoming inauguration has been unveiled. Davao-based designer Silverio Anglacer shared a sketch of a Filipiniana gown outlined with green on the right. Is that the right or the left side? On the left side. Duterte will take her oath this weekend ahead of the inauguration of President-elect Marcos on June 30. Stay tuned to CNN Philippines for the special coverage of the inauguration of Vice President-elect Duterte in Davao City. We will bring that to you live as it happens this Sunday, June 19th. Don't miss also our documentary, Inday Sara, the Vice President, and our pre-inauguration special hosted by senior anchor Rico Hizon from 3 p.m. onwards. The United States is optimistic about relations with the country's incoming administration following the visit of State Deputy Secretary Wendy Sherman to the Philippines last week. Tristan Odalo returns to explain why.
Recalibrating the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement or EDCA and the Visiting Forces Agreement or VFA with the United States amid a changing geopolitical situation and a Philippine administration in transition. This is among the key recommendations from a review conducted by the Hawaii-based nonprofit institution East-West Center on the 75 years of Philippine-U.S. relations. The U.S.-funded center likewise looked back at the Philippine-U.S. partnership in terms of trade, investment, aid, and people-to-people relations.
Although the challenges that we face today are different than they were 75 years ago, our two countries are still working side by side.
Recalibrate our security and alliance partnership. That includes not only the restored VFA, but also the EDGA agreement to look at new ways of working together on training and defense modernization. Sit down and figure out what elements of the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework could be moved forward in the interests of both countries to expand trade and investment, technology.
In terms of security cooperation, 37 joint military exercises or balikatan have been conducted since 1991. The Mutual Defense Treaty is also the oldest military alliance in the Indo-Pacific region. The bilateral trade between the two countries is valued over $25 billion as of 2020. The U.S. also donated more than 33 million COVID-19 vaccines. Partnership in terms of aid and disaster response also prospered in the last 7 decades.
We have a very high priority in engaging the new administration in Manila on our relationship. And you can imagine the areas that we will cover. Our alliance issues, our military cooperation, defense cooperation, how the Philippines would like to interact with the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework.
The United States hopes that these key findings can help the U.S. to chart the course of its ties with the Philippines in the next 6 years under the Marcos presidency. Tristan Odalo, CNN Philippines.
Shifting gears, keeping your cash on hand might seem like the most convenient option, but when it comes to your savings, finance experts say it might be best to try other routes. Our senior correspondent Lois Calderon has more.
Filipinos are getting creative in saving money. There's the Ipon Challenge that can help grow savings of up to over 100,000 pesos in 1 year, from setting aside little amounts each day. But they're kept in piggy banks, plastic water bottles, in drawers, or even vases.
Iniipon ko yung mga 20 na bago ngayon na coins. 2 baboy yung alikansya na plastic, nakakaipon na kami na isa, nakakapuno na. Aabot ng 5,000.
Before po sa bangko, naglalagay po ako sa bangko ng pang savings. Tapos ngayon po, minsan sa bahay na lang din para less hassle.
But those coins and banknotes hidden at home are becoming costly for the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas' money printing activities. The BSP asked the public to recirculate those coins so it does not have to mint more and instead boost state coffers to fund social services and contain the coronavirus. To help savers in remote towns, banks have to bring financial services closer to the unbanked.
Most of our kababayans live from a hand-to-mouth existence. They get paid by the hour. The moment they go to the bank, they line up and they waste 2 to 3 hours. They feel a kind of intimidated because they're wearing shorts, slippers.
When building wealth, time becomes an enemy. 1 year of locking coins and notes in a piggy bank makes your money lose its value as gasoline and food prices become more expensive. Here's the proposition of wealth coaches. Free up those coins and deposit them with banks. Banks pay interest rates for savings, so you grow your money over time.
E-banking or electronic bank are more creative. Some banks right now offer 6% interest per annum. They can afford to give that 6% is because, number one, they don't have any fiscal setup.
There are other upsides to keeping your money in the bank.
Your notes will be updated. We tend to change the look of our money. There's an insurance for deposits, 500,000 per depositor.
But because you make very little profit from time deposits, consider other investments. The list is long. Stocks, real estate investment trusts, REITs, bonds or fixed income, unit investment trusts, and mutual funds.
These are highly volatile instruments, and you must be prepared to
take the loss.
Take the loss and face the consequences.
Or be your own boss.
Start your own business, because once you start your own business, you can easily make 20% per transaction to 50% profit. It is higher compared to the bank.
The bottom line, set financial goals, weigh the risk, and get expert advice. Because money multiplies only when in good hands. Lois Calderon, CNN, Philippines.
When we return, the PBA Press Corps' Comeback Player of the Year and Game of the Season have been announced. And the BTS member sets things straight, saying the group will continue working together and are not breaking up. Details next on Newsnight. You're watching CNN Philippines. President Duterte is set to confer honors on a new set of national artists tonight. The event was scheduled at 4 this afternoon, but it has yet to begin. The 8 recipients for 2022 are Agnes Locsin for dance, Salvacion Lim Higgins or Slim for design, Nora Honor, Ricky Lee, and Marilu Diaz-Abaya for film and broadcast arts, Jimeno Abad for literature, Fides Cuyugan Asensio for music, and Tony Mabesa for theater. Abad and Lee spoke to CNN Philippines earlier this week with advice for aspiring artists and what the award means to them.
I'm happy with the message that it sends that scriptwriters are also filmmakers. Kasi usually, pag pinag-usapan yung pelikula, director, artista lang nababanggit. Pag may festivals abroad, hindi na-imbita ang writer. Mga posters. This is a way of reminding people na andito kami. Kami yung pinagmulan ng pelikulang ginawa, yung istorya.
You cannot demand from the writer, no, you write this way, you write that way. No. Every writer finds his own way with language. Mm-hmm. In other words, the writer finds his own way through the lexical wilderness on language. You make your own clearing. You make your own clearing within that language. That is style.
The honor recognizes Filipinos who have significantly contributed to Philippine arts and culture. More of our kababayans getting honored this time on the hard court for the PBA Press Corps Awards. Junmar Fajardo of the San Miguel Beermen will be named Comeback Player of the Year, returning after a year of absence because of a tibia fracture. The Meralco Boats' Alain Maliksi is Mr. Quality Minutes, while the thrilling San Miguel versus Northport match is the game of the season. Awards night happens on June 21st, 7 p.m. at the Novotel Manila Araneta Center. Entertainment news now. Here's a first look at Barbie's famous partner in crime for the live-action film. Hollywood heartthrob Ryan Gosling will play Ken in Greta Gerwig's Barbie. The new photo has gone viral, with netizens imagining the team-up between Gosling and Margot Robbie as the titular character. The movie, inspired by one of the best-selling toys of all time, is set for release on July 21st next year. And in K-pop, Jungkook of BTS clarifying the Grammy-nominated act is not disbanding and will continue with activities together. In a live stream Wednesday, the vocalist said that they still have plenty of work to do as a group and that they will keep filming their show Run BTS. BTS recently announced that it is going on a break to focus on solo pursuits. Jungkook also told fans they're taking time off to gather energy. And that is it for now. Join me again on News.ph at 7 p.m. I'm Pia Honteveros. And before we go, here are tips on how you can make an energy smart home. Let's watch this.
Typical na paggamit ng Pilipino. Unang-una, pag tulog pa lang, gumagamit siya ng energy, kadalasan electric fan, aircon. Pagdating sa opisina, bukas ng computer or bukas ng ilaw. Tigil yan sa lunchtime. After ng lunch, sisipa ulit yan. May pataas pagbaba, no? Pag bumababa kadalasan yung ating kuryente, tumataas naman yung ating gasoline diesel. Yung smart home, yun yung kino-combine natin, yung energy technology sa information communication technology. So, nandiyan yung strategiya nating energy efficiency plus renewable energy plus ICT. Pinaka-benepisyo ng energy efficiency through this information communication technology tulad ng smart home or smart apps, nakakatulong ito sa pagproteksyon sa ating planeta for the future generation also.
Solar is a form of renewable energy, and it makes a home or business more self-sufficient. So if you have solar on your rooftop, you would use less of the electricity. For every kilowatt you install, you save about 1,500 pesos a month in your electric bill. And with a program called net metering, if you have excess power or excess energy from your solar, you could sell it to the utility for evening use credits.
An energy service company, by definition of law, is a provider of end-to-end solution that seeks to enable consumers of energy, especially large users of electricity and other forms of energy, to help them become efficient in how they use energy.
Nowadays, maraming nagpapatayo ng bahay na they really want to incorporate na they will have an energy efficiency. So basically, we need to start with the design of your building. For instance, you have to make sure that you have the design that has ample light. It can accommodate as much as daylight as possible. One must also consider buying home appliances that have a high energy efficiency rating or yung may mataas na EER. For instance, you should invest on inverter-based appliances. One more thing, you should also invest on bulbs. So the lower wattage like LED bulbs instead of incandescent or fluorescent lamps. You have to consider that you have to choose those things. We are one with DOE. Now we want them to have implement in their houses the energy efficiency as a way of life. When you talk of energy efficiency, it doesn't only talk of electricity per se. Pwede rin natin i-consider dyan yung mga consumption ng mga fuel natin.
It is really important not just for people to know about the importance of saving energy, but to really adapt energy efficiency as a way of life, because our sources of energy are also dwindling. So it's really important for everyone to not just be aware of its importance, but to really practice energy efficiency and really make it as part of their life.
This is Politics as Usual. I'm Pia Honteveros. In her first public appearance since yesterday's elections, Vice President Leni Robredo makes an appeal to fellow Bicolanos as the Bicolanos and supporters as the partial unofficial tally for the presidential race nears 100%. Our Anjo Alimario. This is Politics as Usual. I'm Pia Honteveros. In her first public appearance since yesterday's elections, Vice President Leni Robredo makes an appeal to fellow Bicolanos as the Bicolanos and supporters as the partial unofficial tally for the presidential race nears 100%. Our Anjo Alimario is in Naga City. Anjo, what did Robredo say?
Accept the final result of the elections. Pia, that's the appeal of Vice President Leni Robredo to her fellow Bicolanos as they fill the Naga Metropolitan Cathedral tonight. And as she was explaining to them, she said she says that through acceptance, a bigger strength may come in to unite themselves. Speaking in Bicolano, Robredo points out that there will be bigger fights and it doesn't end with the elections. She says the fight was not only to win, but be part of a better government. Interestingly, she notes she doesn't consider this as a loss because they have achieved many things during the election season. On reported irregularities during yesterday's polls, she says they're currently consulting with experts to study these allegations being spread online and on social media, and once done, they will share the results to the public. Now, if there's a silver lining in all of this, she says she will have more time to come home in Camarines Sur. Her final message to her supporters: do not regret every effort, every sacrifice. She knows that they did everything. And Pia, from that speech alone, you can already sense from that tone that she herself is already at peace, regardless of the outcome of the elections. She has always said that she gave it her all. And meanwhile, there's a separate pasasalamat for her supporters in Metro Manila on the 13th, Pia.
Anjo, a while ago, I was speaking to Myla Villanueva, chair of PPCRV, and she did address that issue of the patterns, variants. She was saying that she had invited different math experts from different universities, and so far, as of this evening, they have not found anything.
Well, that's interesting, Pia, and I don't know if that's the same experts that the Robredo camp has been consulting with, but definitely we will relay that information to them, and as to how soon will they release that result of their so-called consultation with these experts to really verify, to vet all these allegations spreading, of course, on social media. Of course, Robredo already appealing to her supporters to accept the result of the elections.
Anjo Alimario there, reporting live from Naga in Camarines Sur. Now, still with us, former presidential spokesperson Edwin Lasherda, political consultant. Edwin, a while ago, sinabi na nga ni Myla, no, na
yun na nga, yung wala pa silang nakikita. Another important thing that came up during the campaign was this Google Trends. No?
Right.
So a lot of people kasi were saying, oh, we have surveys, but meron kaming problema sa survey kasi medyo parang bakit si BBM ang leading? So tingnan na lang natin tong Google Trends na to. Did that help the campaign or did that make things worse?
I think the purpose of the survey really is it's a tool that is most beneficial for the campaign team itself, not the people. Because the reason for the survey is, apart from the number, the horse race, the figures, that's not the most important thing. If you're a member of the campaign team, you're looking at the meat, the substance of, for instance, where are the numbers, where are we growing, where are we not, where are we lagging behind, what things did we do at this particular survey period that did us well, that did us badly. So those are the things that hinihimayan eh. If your tendency is to refer to Google Trends and say, malakas tayo and all that, well and good. But that depends on how you interpret it. But ano yung substance nun? Anong sinasabi ng Google Trends that the surveys tell us? Remember that a survey, it's a very direct question. Sino ang binoto mo?
Right.
Ang Google Trends, it's searching for the name. At the very least, at the minimum, it indicates awareness and increased interest. Now, some people would equate increase of awareness or interest as conversion. And that's where the problem is, because Google Trends is fundamentally sentiment agnostic. If I search your name, Pia Honteveros, it doesn't mean anything except that, sino ba itong si Pia Honteveros? It doesn't say, uy, gusto ko siya, uy, kakainis yan.
Iboboto ko siya.
Hindi, ano na, it's really sentiment agnostic.
Yeah.
So, but, when you look at Google Trends, and they themselves say, we're not a pollcaster, and the people who use Google Trends, they come up with their own rules for AI. So you draw it, and they have their own rules. The algorithms yan eh. Ikaw magagawa ng rules. You set the rules. And depending on the rules, itong lalabas na resulta. And so what we're seeing is, mukhang iba ang na-predict ng Google Trends, or at least those who are using the data on Google Trends, and it didn't come out that Lenny won. The thing lang with the survey was one thing was serious. And the reason for the variance is, maybe perhaps hindi nakukuha ng Google Trends ang DNE. Kasi sila ba ay nagsa-search in the first place? Ano bang ginagamit nila? What do they use Google search for in the first place? But clearly, because malaki ang DNE class sa Google, sa Pulse Asia, it confirmed what we're seeing right now in the elections. Because we're fundamentally, malaki ang ating DNE class. And that's the only reason why tama si survey at nagkulang si Google Trends.
Tama si survey at nagkulang si Google Trends, or tama si survey at mali si Google Trends?
At mali si Google Trends. At least dito sa bansa natin.
Sa bansa natin, yeah. Okay, final words, Edwin, before we let you go. We are gonna let Edwin go na ba? Yeah? We have to, yeah.
I think, the report from Bicol was, at least maganda yung sinabi ni VP Lenny.
Mas klaro pa yon.
It was clear, accept the results of the election, we can do better things, we can do more things apart from the election proper itself. Kasi she has, raised the passion of the people, make them more civic conscious, and maraming pwedeng gawin after the election. So that's why the passion should not end dito sa election lang. Let's harness it. Let's turn our rage, our anger, our frustration, our denial, the 5 stages of grief into something positive. And that's what we're looking at. And maybe on Thursday, when she addresses the supporters, it would be something... Friday. If she addresses the supporters on Friday, maybe that's something we can see some good out of that and continue this whole movement of good governance, transparency, and accountability. Hindi nagtatapos ang laban ni Lenny at ng taong bayan.
Edwin Lacerda, thank you very much for being here. I was going to say, I hope you see you again. Bukas ulit. That was Thursday, that's Friday na naman. You're becoming a regular here. Thank you so much, Edwin.
Thank you.
We'll be right back after this very quick break. Stay with us. welcome back to Politics as Usual. I'm Pia Honteveros. It is the day after May 9, 2022. Here to give us more insights on the Marcos Duterte campaign is a political consultant and former advertising bigwig, advertising executive Greg Garcia. Hi, Sir Greg. Thank you very much for joining us. You have this smile on your face.
Good evening. No, you said some nice things about me, so.
That's why you're smiling. Okay. All right. You weren't surprised with the results, right? You were expecting this. Well, the surveys were very clear.
Very clear, yeah. It wasn't a surprise, really. The
Okay.
numbers came out the way it was from the start naman, since last year. A lot of pollsters and experts have said that Lenny had a cap of 20%, so pretty much stayed there, you know.
Yeah, okay. Well,
The opposition, sorry,
yeah,
not,
the opposition.
not necessarily Lenny, yeah, the opposition, yeah.
All right. A while ago, I was speaking with Edwin Lacherde here in the studio. So napag-usapan namin Google Trends, and he was saying there really was a problem with using Google Trends. Also, napag-usapan itong sinasabing variants or patterns, no? And Myla Villanueva of PPCRV herself addressed it, saying that she invited math experts over, and they're looking at all these numbers, and so far, she says, they have not seen anything. So what are your thoughts on that?
I really think the opposition have to, in a sense, they have to face reality. The numbers are just too wide as predicted, and if I were them, I'd, just pull back and start planning already for the next election, and really review where did we go wrong. It was very clear naman from the start where they were going wrong, but they just did not. I'm guessing they did not. Hindi nila pinansin yung mga comments, and I'm really surprised, and maybe it gives credit to the saying, too many cooks may spoil the broth. And maybe there were too many cooks in the campaign. I don't know, but I heard there were many cooks really.
How many? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. But
I mean, they said the entire film community, production community, creative community, And when there are two creatives there and they're fighting, patay ka na, as they say.
Okay. So when you say that so many things went wrong, can we go over what happened? I mean, I guess this would be a very good masterclass, if you will, on political campaigns, no? In terms of messaging, ano yung naging problema ng Lenny campaign?
Okay, let's start from the beginning. One, every election you must define it. Is it a continuity election or a change election? You start with that, no? When you know it's a continuity election, then you've got to play and do another game and not be a change message. So I was surprised that they never even considered that, I think. Second, look at the message. Sa tapat na, tapat ba, whatever.
Sa gobyernong tapat, angat buhay lahat.
O gobyernong tapat. Was that a problem? Are there data to show that people did not consider this government as tapat?
They did not.
Precisely, but when you look at the numbers of Duterte, it's high. So to me, tapat wasn't the problem, So why were they using that when it is not perceived as a problem of the people? At the end of the day, it's the people you're talking to, And the people you say, tapat, gobyernong tapat, and they say, tapat naman to, Okay. So there was a disconnect, I think, in the messaging, And I think it wasn't just that. They did come up with a lot of lines. They had this rosas ang bukas. They were
kulay rosas ang bukas. Kulay rosas ang bukas.
Yeah, they were so esoteric, Whereas when you look at the BBM campaign, it was so single-minded, They knew that unity was important. They knew that the country was coming from a pandemic. They don't want to. People don't like trouble. They just want to get back to normal. And when you see people fighting or people, kumbaga sa kalye, ayaw mo na makakita ng mga sanggano, Pag nakakita ka ng sanggano, medyo matatakot ka, no? Ba't nag-aaway pa hanggang ngayon?
Well, that's the same thing that Edwin Lacherde has been bringing up since yesterday, na dun sa mga FGD, sa focus group discussions, ayaw talaga ng tao ng yung combative, nag-aaway.
Yeah. Okay. Tama yun. Tama yun. Basagulero, Ayaw ng mga tao ng basagulero. So, to me, and then to me personally, from a, just a perspective of communications, when you say when you impose a color and you impose lines like tayo kakampi tayo, you are really being exclusive. And you just kind of kick out the other people, not you. No? Sabi ko nga, and I hope this is not taken negatively. It reminds me of the Kluk Klan,
Oh my goodness.
I know,
Naku,
don't take it negatively.
Ang daming magagalit sa inyo, Sir Greg.
No, that's right. Don't get angry. I'm not saying you are.
Yeah.
I'm just saying psychologically, it's a clique, They find themselves as a clique. Sorry if it was a harsh description, but I think just to make it clear that's how it comes out in terms of communications. No, you just cannot. You have to be all inclusive. It can't be exclusive.
Yeah.
So
well, they did try to
don't
be
get it.
inclusive when they said tao sa tao, puso sa puso. Wasn't that working?
Words are great, but you are judged by your action. Just like in any piece of advertising, you may say it, but it's not resonating because they don't see that. It's like a product promising something but not delivering. So it's not gonna work. There's got to be some synergy between the advertising and the product, whatever it is that you want them to get out of the messaging that you have. So I really think, in a sense, sayang talaga could have been a better fight, as they kumbaga sa boxing. Could have been a closer fight. But I really think they did not go out of their way to try to convert people. I think Edwin Lacerda said that earlier. You've got to go out, convert people. The first question you should ask is, if we are 20%, where will our votes come from? Obviously, it will come from the BBM votes. So therefore, you have to court the BBM voters.
Well,
How do you do that?
That is what they try to do, Sir Greg, hindi ba? Ang sabi nga nila, they need to educate BBM voters para malaman nila what was wrong with martial law, etc.
There you go. The opening line pala, I will educate you, is already a turn off, I think they should have been more sensitive to the feelings of people. Sabi ko nga, if I were to really, if I can turn back the hands of time, I would have taken up anthropology in college. It gives you a better understanding of people talaga and the culture. You cannot communicate from your point of view. It is always to be from the point of view of the person you're talking to. I think they were communicating from their own point of view, believing that everybody was like them. It's so difficult if you make a conclusion that everybody should be like me. That's fatal. We say everybody should think like me. It's not. People don't think like you. And in this world of this election, only 20% of people had the same kind of thinking. You have to get the votes from somewhere else. They should have been more sensitive to the feelings of the people who are for BBM, because these are the people that they would have converted sana to go to the lead camp.
Thank you so much for being with us tonight, Sir Greg Garcia, political consultant and executive advertising bigwig. Salamat, Sir Greg. Bongbong Marcos has yet to claim victory in the presidential race. That's despite his huge lead against his rival, VP Leni Robredo. Our correspondent Rex Remigio is at the Marcos campaign headquarters here in Mandaluyong City. Rex, why is Mr. Marcos not claiming victory yet?
Well, what happened in the 2016 vice presidential elections has something to do with how they see things now. Marcos was leading at least by a small margin at a time when suddenly Robredo overtook him in the race. They have been insisting that they were cheated, which led to their electoral protest that lasted for 5 years. But critics are pointing out to the Supreme Court junking his poll protest. That's why this time the Marcos camp wants to be really sure, and they're urging their supporters to be more vigilant since the official canvassing of votes has yet to start.
Hindi pa tapos ang bilangan. Marami nang nagsasabi na tapos na, pero hindi pa talaga. Antayin natin hanggang talagang maliwanag, mag 100% ng pagbilang. Hanggat tayo ay mag-celebrate o mag-isip na tapos na.
The Marcos camp isn't saying where he is right now or what his plans are. Until now, we're just outside of the campaign headquarters. The Marcos camp says there's no more possible press conference tonight. As you can see, some supporters are just staying outside the campaign headquarters beside the southbound lane of EDSA. Some supporters are urging motorists to show their support by honking their horns. Others are dancing and singing songs related to the Marcos campaign, like the OPM classic Umagang Kay Ganda, which is often played right before Marcos speaks in campaign rallies, or Ang Bagong Lipunan, which is the anthem of the martial law era. We spoke to some supporters of BBM who went here. Some are loyalists since his father's regime. Others, meanwhile, were once anti-Marcos. One said she was enlightened through modern sources of information.
Sinabi naman ng mga professor ko, hindi naman totoo. Kasi wala naman nagpapatunayan na guilty si Marcos, di ba? Siyempre, nag-research ako sa YouTube.
Huwag niyo sasabihin na magnanako ang Marcos. Kasi ang Marcos maraming pera mula noon.
Critics have been pointing out there are court decisions that prove otherwise. The camp, meanwhile, also welcomes the COMELEC and bank's decision to dismiss all motions for reconsideration on the disqualification cases against Marcos. Rodriguez says they always believe the poll body will stay true to its mandate. For the anti-BBM parties, there's no giving up yet until they exhaust all legal remedies. Back to you, Pia.
Rex, just one question. No indications yet as to cabinet appointments, especially, and this is something that Edwin Lachard and I were talking about earlier, the very crucial economic team.
So far, none at all. We've asked them many times about it, but he's really mum about it. Although he said that he's willing to work with anyone just to be stay in line with their value of unity. Although at some point he also mentioned that he also prefers to work with someone whom he has a working experience in the past. Pia.
Rex Remigio there reporting from the Marcos campaign headquarters in Mandaluyong. Don't go anywhere after this break. This is Politics as Usual. We're on our final stretch. Here to give us his election assessment and outlook is political analyst Richard Heydarian, which he had been doing since last night. He was with us here in the studio last night, but he's joining us now via Zoom. Hi, Richard. Hello, how are you?
I'm still processing things. Been
still processing things.
Hours.
Processing things. You mean it's still sinking into you now?
Not at all.
No.
I'm done with the sinking in part. It's more like processing information with all of the interviews and all we have been doing over the past 48 hours.
Okay. Yeah, I was about to also introduce you as Richard Heydarian, the half Ilocano who was almost born on Marcos Highway.
I think I got a little bit of flack on Twitter. It's like, we don't care if you're happening. I just had to say, I told already on Manpur, I was born almost in Marcos Highway. Just some trivia, just in case people are interested.
Yeah, okay. Well, we're interested in this. Just, Edwin Lachard was here a while ago. I was also speaking to the chair of PPCRV, Myla Villanueva. Napag-usapan yung patterns, variants. Now, this has been going around social media since last night. And the Lenny supporters saying that, this probably proves that something went wrong. So Myla addressed that issue, and she said that she had invited math experts from different universities, and so far, as of tonight, they have not found anything. What does this mean to you?
Right. Again, I'm also not very surprised with that. We have seen this, let's say, strategy of denialism for quite some time. We saw that with the bashing of the surveys, including very authoritative surveys, which were consistently correct and spot on almost throughout the elections. We have seen all sorts of alternative indicators, including Google Trends being used, something which is laughable to anyone who has basic idea of how these things work. I mean, interest levels, you can manipulate that. Interest level has nothing to do with voter preference. I've been hearing this, so we're just seeing the latest version of the same denialism. I don't even know if it's a strategy anymore. I think this is just some sort of emotional outburst by people who do not want to see the facts. I mean, you and I, Pia, we have been mentioning the facts on the ground. I've been saying, where are the adults? Because, if you're an adult, you're going to come out and say, you see, maybe we won, maybe we lost. This is the lay of the land. We want to move forward, whether winner or loser. You want to move forward based on verified data and facts and reasonable indicators. And you can pull some mathematician or statistician, whatever, here and there. Anyone can do that, right? But the point is that when you subject this to peer review, to the established consensus of experts, you're going to see a very different results. So now I'm not surprised. It's the latest version we're seeing. Now, I think Vice President Lenny Robredo last night, I broke that down live on a different channel while doing my tour last night. She came out and said it was not a concession speech per se, but she said we're going to respect the democratic process. At the same time, we want to get down to the bottom of any irregularities. I see no problem with that. Don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Respect the process as a whole. Look at possible irregularities. Do something about it. I think that was a mature speech by Lenny Robredo. I think she should set that example more and more so that we don't see this kind of preposterous alternative facts coming out here and there.
Okay, a few things, Richard. So tonight, Anja Arimari was reporting that Lenny spoke again in the Naga Cathedral, and she said, and we quote, to accept the final results. That's what she said. And it was much clearer than early this morning, yung 2 o'clock in the morning speech niya. At the same time, speaking of surveys, what we're seeing here is that, yes, the surveys were right, after all.
Yeah,
Pulse Asia,
they're very
Pulse Research, Lilo, every last one of them.
Yeah, except the Senate one, though, I think no one, I don't think even Robin Padilla saw it coming, but I think more or less the surveys were spot on in terms of the gaps. It was almost a 1.5-way race, not even a 2-way race, because the ratio is 2-1 almost between number 1 and number 2. And as I said, in fairness to Lenny, she was not against just Bongbong Marcos. She was against the unity tandem of Sara Duterte and Marcos. That's why it was always hard. And I always said, if you look at Pew Survey, World Values Survey, up to 60% of Filipinos fall into a category that we can call democratically ambivalent. Ang hanap po ng tao ay husay, competence, fire, decisiveness. Now, did the campaign of Lenny Robredo tap into that yearning? I'm not very sure about that. And I'm not saying this now. You can go through my tweet. I am sure, Pia, you have seen some of my tweets. I've been subtly telling different camps where they have been going wrong. I'm not attached to any camp. I have no color, right? Of course, I want more competent presidents than not, obviously, right?
Okay.
But saying this, I've been sending these signals. It seems some people are trying to filter it out, whether for emotional reasons or they don't want to hurt the feelings of some strategists who are not doing their job or don't know what the hell they're doing.
All right. Richard Hidarian, political analyst. Thank you so much again, Richard. We'll be seeing you in the next few days, I'm sure. Salamat. Thank you for joining us. We've been told before, don't talk politics at the dinner table or the family reunion or in Viber groups and risk digital warfare. But we can talk about it here at this table on this show, your weekly political appointment fix, politics as usual. I'm Pia Honteveros. See you back here next Tuesday, 8 p.m.
First on radio, DZKI-IRIGA welcomes CNN Philippines to bring you the latest news you can use, news you can trust. Listen to Newsnight, weekdays, 6 p.m. We now go above and beyond the headlines, followed by Med Talk, Health Talk.
We'll talk about how to keep ourselves healthy during the pandemic.
Politics as usual.
In this country, not everything really goes according to plan, and politics is, as usual,
up close, and more. Catch CNN Philippines Hour on DZKI-IRIGA. Weekdays, 6 to 7 p.m.
Kumakalat breaking tweet ni at hindi ito scam. All caps, gamot sa cancer? Question mark. Miracle tea exclamation. Mapa stage 1, stage 2, stage 100. First 100 emoji to DM will be healed with good hair.
Huwag paloko, mag-fact check muna. Ang totoong balita, tunog tama, dapat tama. Isang paalaala mula sa KBP at ng istasyong ito.
Click number 2. Order now. Arrow down. Arrow down.
CNN Philippines are sa RPN-DZKI-IRIGA alas 6 hasta alas 7 ng magi, Lunes hanggang Biyernes. CNN Philippines are